Yo, what up? How's it going? And welcome back for another video. In today's video, I'll be showing you guys how to play Shi Oh Yu, or some people like to call it Soy for short, how to play that composition, the standard way to play it. Now, in this video, I'll just be explaining to you guys how to play it, the early game, the mid game, the late game, best in slot, all that good stuff. But I will not be showing any gameplay in this video, as the purpose of this is to just teach you how to play it. If you'd like to see gameplay, if you need that accompanied with this, I will leave a link to a gameplay VOD of me playing this comp just a few days ago, and you can check that out. So check that out if you want to. With that out of the way, let's get right into it. Okay, first things first. So the screen I'm showing you right now is just kind of a early game composition that you can run. It doesn't have to look like this, and we'll talk about this in a second. But before we do that, let's talk about what are the win conditions for this composition in the late game. How do we actually first place? How do we top 4? How do we top 2? So the win condition is going to be Shi Oh Yu with 2 good items, or Shi Oh Yu 2 with good items, not with 2 good items. And we'll talk about what those items are later in the video. Nico 2 with tank items, and then you need either a second DPS, and that can be either Anivia, Corki, or Yasuo. Doesn't really matter who that is, or you can have double backline DPS with a Corki and Anivia, or a Yasuo, Anivia, that sort of thing. But typically you just need a second damage doer. Shi Oh Yu typically can't get it done on his own. All right, so sticking with items. So item start. What do we want to start when we ever play this comp? Honestly, it doesn't really matter. And I don't think you should be forcing this comp, but if you want to force this comp, you can go belt or chain, which is a good item opener for any comp. And I really like belt or chain for a couple of reasons. One, I like prioritizing tank items in the early game, just in general. It's just an easy way to get through the early and mid game is to build tank items, as well as the carry items are very flexible in this composition. I've found, as you can run so many different off carries in this build, as I just described, and Shi Oh Yu's items are actually pretty flexible as well. But the reason why I like belt and chain specifically is belt, we can build tank items. Obviously, you know, we can build Sunfire, we can build Warmogs, whatever, right? Good early game items. But also belt, we can build into a Morellonomicon, and that's an extremely good item on Anivia. That's like her best item, and Karma is one of the easiest item holders for that item, and is the easiest item holder for playing Jade build, as she is a Jade, goes straight up into that vertical into Anivia, makes it very easy to play. So that's why I really like belt. And then chain is very good for obvious reasons, tank items, as well as 2 of Shi Oh Yu's best items utilize chain, which is Edge of Night and Titan's Resolve. Both of those are going to be very strong, so that's why I like belt or chain. But again, it really doesn't matter that much when you're playing this comp, as there are so many different items that you can build. Augments, we'll talk about augments real quick before we get into actually talking about early game and building our comp. Honestly, nothing special here. There's no like augment that really like takes Jade over the top. Just play whatever standard strong meta augments are at the time, whether that's econ or combat augments. It really doesn't matter. Just play whatever you think is good in the game, what's going to be strong for your current board. Don't get too focused on the augments here. Now, to talk about Jade specific augments, don't take Jade Heart unless you are willing to play 9 Jade. So if you're willing to play 9 Jade, you can totally take it. But if you're not willing to take it, don't take Jade Heart or the Jade Soul or whatever, where you get a Titan's Resolve and a thing. You have to be willing to play 9 Jade if you're going to do that. And if you're not willing to play it, you don't know how to make the board, you don't know how to make that board strong, then don't take it. I don't like taking Jade Heart very much, but it can be very good in circumstances where it looks good like that. And then the other Jade augments that you can get, they're fine. You can totally take them. The Jade based ones, they're fine. But yeah, all the good stuff. Okay, now we're going to start building our composition, taking you through what a standard early game could look like, or what a good early game would look like. And one thing I want to note when I'm showing you guys these composition, I'm just showing you the easiest path to getting to like the composition. But when you're playing, just know, build whatever is your strongest board. You don't have to play the boards I'm showing you. I'm just showing you the easiest path. And that's why it's called, you know, that's why it's a guide. So, but I just wanted to get that out there. A lot of people see this and are like, I couldn't hit this, so therefore I couldn't play the comp. But it really is, I'm just showing you the easiest path. You can play whatever you want to get to that final board, which we're going to show at the end. Cool. So early game, easiest way to play it is just play around Jade, Guardian, and Dragonmancer. It's going to be so easy. And this is going to be something that you can hit every single game. Karma, Ashe, Taric, and Set. You can hit this pretty much every game where you get kind of an opener where it looks good to play Jade. You can hit this composition. Obviously, there's a bunch of different flex spots. This could just be Anivia straight up, if you get it. This could be Lee Sin, who's going to be better than Set, straight up, and all that good stuff. You could be playing Guardians instead of Dragonmancer, right? You could be playing, if you have Leona 2, you can play Leona 2, and all that good stuff. And I just put some items to show you kind of where the items can go. Because we can put Anivia's items onto Karma, we can put tank items onto Taric, and then if we get Shi Oh Yu items, we just find some random person to use Shi Oh Yu items. So those are gonna be the item holders here, and I just wanted to show these just to show you who can be the good item holders for your people in the early game. I find it's easiest in the early game. I just talked about item holders. I find it easiest to build your Anivia based items and your tank items. I find it it's easier just to build around that, especially when you get this type of opener. There's not really a lot of great 80 item holders that fit neatly into this composition, or playing around Jade and Guardian. So that's why I prefer to build these. And if you don't hit your Show You items, there's always a Treasure Dragon. So you can always get your Show You items from the Treasure Dragon. So I don't focus too hard on Show You items unless I have a really good item holder to do it. So just know that. Here we are. This is going to be an example of what your stage 3 board could look like. Let's say you had the opener that I just showed you. This is an example of a very budget, very cheap, stage 3 board that is a very easy transition. Now there are a couple different variations, but just going off base of what we started, this could be something that you could run in on level 6 stage 3. Now on stage 3, you just want to play whatever is your strongest, so it's either going to be this or it's going to be Anivia with Lulu and all that good stuff, but this is just a version of the easiest version I can think of right here. But you just want to play your strongest board. Our goal is to get to level 7 as quick as possible, but if you're on stage 3 and you're really weak and you're leaking out, then roll, obviously. But our goal is to get to level 7 for our roll down, so we can start hitting Show You, start hitting Anivia is a lot more reliable, that sort of thing. But this can be a very cheap and effective mid-game composition that you can run on stage 2, stage 3 once you are level 6. Very decent right here. All right, here we are at stage 4 and beyond. This is where this is where the meat and potatoes of the build. This is where the actual nuance, here's where the finesse happens. And I do say that, but I think this is actually one of the easiest builds to play in the game, because the build is actually very, very, very static, and positioning is also very static. So let's talk about it. So this is our completed board. This is the easiest board to achieve. I know there's a legendary, there's a bunch of 4 costs, but this is the easiest board to achieve of the variations that I have for this, because it's not relying too much on legendaries to carry your composition. Now this is the level 8 version of the board. If we were rolling for this board on level 7, which you usually will, it's just this board minus the Corkster and the Bard. Just focus on hitting all these units except for these 2, and you can just play whatever in the slot. That can be the Corkster, obviously it can be your Bard if you hit him, that's all good, but you really just want to focus on hitting these Jade units as well as Lulu. That's going to be your most important stuff to hit on 7 if you're rolling on 7. And just play whatever else you hit right here. It's not a big deal. Cool, but if we are level 8, this is our board. This is the board, and Corki is the flex spot. You will almost always play the Jade units plus Lulu and Bard. That'll be in your composition almost every single game, and Corki is the flex spot. Corki can be Sona, Corki can be Corki can be Yasuo, it can be a random 2-star legendary you hit like Pike, something like that. But I find that one of the most effective variations of this comp that at least right now in the current meta I like to play is Corki right here, because he can do a lot of nice DPS. But anyways, okay, now let's talk about one other thing. There's another flex spot, Gnar. You might be looking at Gnar and think like, why aren't we playing Soraka? And the reason why we're playing Gnar is just get the shapeshifter bonus on here. And so here's my typical rule of thumb, is that I like to play Gnar 2 over Soraka 1. But if I get a Soraka 2, I'll definitely play a Soraka 2 over Gnar 1. Also, sometimes I just end up playing Soraka in this board until I hit a Corkster or hit a Bard, something like that. So you can also do that if you'd like. But that is a commonly asked question I get whenever I'm playing this comp, is when to play Gnar or when to play Soraka. Typically, it's just until you have Soraka 2, because Gnar does buff Nico quite a bit with shapeshifter. And his CC is fine. It's still fine. His defense is fine. But once you have Soraka, she heals more than the bonus shield that your bonus health that you're typically going to give to Nico. So Soraka is going to give your board more effective HP overall. Okay, now let's talk about Show You. Let's talk about Show Yu's items. So Show You, you want BT or any healing item really, but you really want BT. The reason why you want BT, if you don't know, is, and this is just a rule on healing items, for frontliners, you always want BT over Gunblade if you can, because BT scales off of your HP. It gives you that fat shield that scales off of your HP. That's why you do BT. You can do Hodge, you can do Gunblade, those are both fine, but BT is going to be your best bet. After BT, it's any combination of Giant Slayer, Titans, and Edge of Night. You can also go more AD, like a Deathblade, like an IE. It's not as good as the other items I just said, but you can. Or a Rageblade if you have to. RFC is also a decent item on Show You as well. You will miss your 3rd hit whenever you build RFC a lot of the times, but it is still good because he gets out of CC range and he gets a lot of that attack speed, so it is still fine. But typically it's going to be BT plus GS, Titans, Edge and Night, any combination of those. And I just showed you a variation right here, BT, Titans, GS, and we're all good to go. Nico, you just want tank items. Just all of your tank items goes on this girl. She is your Giga Tank. She's there to go. Anivia, it's going to be Morello, is going to be your best item. And then any combination of Archangel, Jeweled Gauntlet, Static Shiv, Death Cap, Sojin, Blue Buff. Those are all fine on her. But typically I just make sure to try to get a Morello unless I end up building a Sunfire in the early game. And then after that, really doesn't matter. But these are going to be some of your good options here. She doesn't need mana gain. Evoker is a lot of mana gain. And even Blue Buff is fine for a mana gain item because, again, you are gaining a lot of mana from Evoker. So you don't need Sojin or anything like that, even though our mana pool is very large, because Evoker does give you a crap ton of mana. All right, now if Corki is going to be your additional carry playing in the comp, and he's very good in the current meta at the time we make this video to run as a second or third carry, then if you run Corki in this composition, I really like Last Whisper just plus random leftover items. He's typically not going to be somebody you have a lot of items for, especially if you've already built items for Anivia and Nico, and then from the Treasure Dragon you have to go for your Shi Oh Yu items, right? So and they share a lot of items. So I just like to build Last Whisper. It's going to be it's extremely good for Corki himself, and it's really good for Shi Oh Yu to shred for him for some of his hits. Shi Oh Yu does deal some true damage, but a lot of his damage comes out as flat AD as well. So Last Whisper, extremely good. And then random leftover garbage is really what you give him. But in this build, I actually really like Rageblade and Gunblade. Rageblade because there is a lot of stall in this composition. Nico is very tanky. These Jade statues keep you healthy, all that good stuff. It has a lot of CC. So you do actually end up lasting quite a bit. And then Gunblade even effectively helps that stall. So helps keep Corki alive, and it helps keep Shi Oh Yu and Nico alive. So anything that gives you more effective stall in this composition, I really like. But obviously you can just put Last Whisper plus a bunch of damage items is fine. It's good to go. Cool. So some positioning. Positioning is very static in this composition, because we're going to be positioning around these Jade statues. This is pretty standard Jade positioning that you'll probably see most players do almost every single game. Position something like this. So yeah, pretty static positioning. But one thing to note is that you just want to make sure Nico is in front. You do not want Shi Oh Yu taking damage. You want Nico taking all the damage. He is not. Shi Oh Yu, despite being seeming pretty tanky, is really not that tanky. So you want Nico to be taking as much aggro as you can, and Gnar and that sort of thing. Gnar will jump up there and take aggro as well. So that is what you want. And then so some things to consider is you may want to split your late game carries. So a lot of times in the late game, I'll move my Corki over to here, like at the last second of a fight. If I'm versus like a Bard or a Sona, because then they'll be throwing their CC over here, and my Corki will be safe. You just don't want all of your homies to be CC'd together at the end of the game. So don't worry about getting Jade value hyper late game, but yeah, you can position like this normally and then take Corki out or Anivia out to the side versus a matchup that has a lot of CC. So just keep that in mind. So overall, in synopsis, this is a really easy build to play. And if you think there's something I didn't cover in this guide, then please go watch the gameplay VOD or just write in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer any questions. But yeah, I think this comp is really easy to play, and everyone should have it in their repertoire. Remember, Corki is your flex spot. I just really like Corki in here, so he does not have to be here. You can totally just run it without Corki and just play Sona or Yasuo or random legendary or just like an Ornn 2-star or whatever. But I think the best version of this composition, at least now at this time, is to just add Corki in here with a Last Whisper and some random bullshit. I think is very good. But anyways, that's gonna be it for the guide. Hope I helped you guys out. Good luck trying this comp in your game. If you guys like what I posted and you like this video, please like the video. It does help me out a lot on YouTube. You comment below with any questions you have or any comp guides you'd like to see. If I play that comp or if I'm very good at that comp, I'll make a guide on it if you ask. And then other than that, you can follow me here on YouTube at twitch.tv/tradingTFT. I stream there 4 to 5 days a week, and I post pretty much every day on twitter.com/tradingTFT. So if you'd like to follow that, you like TFT, you can check me out there. Anyways, that's it. Appreciate all of you. Hope you have a fantastic day, fantastic night, and wherever you are, I just hope you're doing well. See ya. Bye.